Hi, everybody. My name is Ilya from TaxDome, and we're doing a quick little overview with Kellie Parks from Calmwaters Calmwaters / workflow expert / Facebook guru to go over some of the features of TaxDome, how they work, and she's going to ask me some tough questions that will hopefully really help answer what TaxDome is, why it's helpful to people, and at the same time drill down into some of the terminology and to make sure that she is fully aware of our features, how they work, and we can see how they might be useful for your practice. So again, my name is Ilya. This is Kellie.
Hi, I'm Kellie Parks of Calmwaters Cloud Accounting, a Facebook guru. My kids would laugh at that. And apparently I completely misused hashtags. So hashtags are like they're the new version of dad jokes or something. So, although I guess we don't use them that much on Facebook, do we? Anyways, stay on topic, Kellie. So I was going to do some user videos for Ilya of how, or for TaxDome, of how I was setting up TaxDome for people. And then what happened was I found a lot of the same questions. And I kind of had some of the same questions as well. And Ilya gives such a great explanation of it that when I'm setting up TaxDome for people, I thought, well, why don't we have a video of like an accountant user using it that I can just share with people so they don't have to pay me to go over this same spiel every single time. My value isn't going over this stuff. So I wanted to have a resource for people because these are the questions that have come up when I've been working with people in TaxDome. These are the same questions that came up for me when I started working in TaxDome. So rather than doing the user videos of how to get started, how to get set up, I said to Ilya and Victor, well, let's do a run through on what it really looked like when I was doing it and what my questions were.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things we want to cover is the terminology. So is many people watching this video, and obviously Kellie, I think you're the perfect example, they've used many different systems before. And that gives you a leg up in the sense of being able to put your thoughts into a system because you've already done that before, right? A system is only good as the process you're able to set up for it. And no matter, and that's why people hire someone like yourself to help them set up for it, is because you help them, mind map their process and really streamline it. But when you come from a different system, you have the downside of having a predetermined notion of what certain words mean. So TaxDome is much more robust than other systems because of the functionality that it has. And with that, when somebody hears a term of task, in one system that means one thing, but in TaxDome it means another. And we want to kind of talk about that. So the difference between, so right on your screen, I'm looking at the workflow aspect of it, and you're going to see there's a tab.
I don't think you're sharing your screen yet.
I think I am sharing. Please, can you double check? I think it's showing up sharing.
Oh,
all right. We're good. Okay, we're sharing.
And Ilya.
All right, cool. So you see here, it says pipelines, jobs, and tasks. And we want to talk, the first thing I think would be a great kind of way to start about it is, what is the difference between them? And as mentioned, if you're coming from a different system, you already have an idea of what a task is and so forth. So I'm going to try and break it down. A pipeline is a process within your firm.
No, it's not.
So let's say you have,
nope.
Let's say you do, sorry?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. You did a fantastic job of describing to me what jobs were.
Okay.
Just failed the pipeline test in your own product.
Okay.
A pipeline is the various milestone stages of a workflow.
Yes, correct. The reason why I say service within your firm is a firm can do many different workflows, right? Or different processes. So your firm might do bookkeeping. So your monthly bookkeeping would be one pipeline or one process that happens. You might also do, say, tax returns. But tax returns you might have your corporate returns, you might have your personal returns. And the reason why you would have different pipelines is, as you mentioned, the milestones or stages. Your process for completing a monthly bookkeeping is different than the process from completing a personal tax return, which is different from the process of completing a corporate tax return.
Agreed.
And TaxDome allows you to fully customize that process, both within the scope. So in this corporate return, and this is fully customizable, there are 4 stages. But if I open up a different pipeline, this one can have, 10 or 15 stages, right? It all depends on what you want to set up. So pipeline, again, is the, as you mentioned, a workflow with milestones set up for it at different stages. Now,
Yep.
if
So
I go
you
back
can
to
call them stages. Some programs call them phases. And so that's what I really wanted to define a little bit is, in my terminology, that would be phases or stages of a workflow, really. And I know because you got to make your way all the way through.
right.
From
Right.
one, those are milestone stages or phases of
Correct.
something.
And the beauty of this is that it gives you a visual representation of the status of a job at any point. So each of these cards are jobs. So a job moves through the process, so to speak, which we call a pipeline, to get from beginning to end. And so you can always see the status of them.
You gave a great description to me of a job.
Okay, so difference between, again, pipeline, job, task. If we think about job is a big picture, right? So a job could be you're building a house.
Yep.
And within building a house, there might be different phases or milestones, whatever you want to call it. So first, you might want to do the foundation. Then you might want to do the flooring. Then you might want to do the windows and the finishing. So those are the different stages of building a house. And within each stage, right, to do the foundation, you might have 20 different tasks that need to get completed in order to make that happen. So at any point, I can look at a client and I can see this job is currently in this stage, and I can see the number of individual tasks that are necessary to complete that within that stage. So that would be, I would say, the hierarchy is you have the process. Within the process, jobs go through that process. And within each job, you have many different, what we call elements. And I'll talk about that in a second of what I mean. So task is just one of the elements of a job. So that's probably the first difference between TaxDome and other systems is in many systems, your task is the end all be all, right? Whereas here, the task is just, again, one part of a job, because depending on the scope of a job, you might have 20 different tasks that are needed to get that, to get the job from A to Z.
Yeah, and one of the things about the tasks is I like to think of them as the steps to get that portion of the job, if you will, that milestone stage done consistently. So it's not a task, it's a series of little things that you need to do to make sure that the outcome is consistent, file to file, client to client, employee to employee, right? But we don't say employees anymore, right? They're team members.
Team members, exactly. But but then this can all be, again, templated, right? So every time, so the beauty of this is once you can set this up, and we have templates included, including something Kelly has put in there, but we have templates that you can just put in. And the beauty of this is that you set this up, and it does obviously take time because every firm is different. But the beauty is once you put your mind to here, you can not only set it up to really foolproof your process, right? Especially if you're looking to bring someone on who's knows less about it than you do, right? You want somebody to come into a process and know exactly, if you hire temp staff or anything, or even if you just want to stay working by yourself, you might want to spend less time on it and ensure you're not using Excel or other sticky notes to really keep track of the process. So again, this can all be fully templated so that every time a job gets into this stage, so certain automations fire. And I think that's actually something we want to talk about is the how this plays into automation. And again, why jobs are so powerful versus just a task in another system. So what I'm going to do, so again, this is fully customizable.
And this, right, but what everybody, like I preach this mightily. The beauty of this is you can set up the systems. Without the systems, you're lost. The automations are the piece that make your life quicker. But I recommend that people spend quite a bit of time making sure that they've got those systems built out, that they know exactly what it is that they want to do to get through a project properly, to have the outcome that they want. And then the automations here are fantastic for some of the grunt work, the stuff that you don't need to do. And I love some of the automations that you guys have in here are great.
So I think you definitely hit the nail on the head in the sense of, well, everyone already has a process, right? Unless you're brand new starting out, you haven't done a single client, you already have a process in place. You just don't realize it. You do the same thing over and over. It's just a function of getting it from your head of doing it manually to putting it into a system, as you're mentioning, so that instead of you having to think about it, it can get it can just happen automatically. So I'll give you a perfect example. The second, and I'm actually going to add a job just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So I'm going to start a new job here, and then you'll see all of the automations. And again, this is fully customizable. We just set this up to see a bunch right away. So as soon as this job starts, you can create an invoice, right? So again, and your invoices might be different because your invoice for your corporate return will be different from your invoice for your bookkeeping, different from your invoice for your tax return, and so forth. You might create a folder template, right? So a lot of people, and they're pretty anal and they like their folders organized a certain way, especially when a client gets in there. You want them to see the folders in the exact way that you want it, and you can have different folder templates. So if you start a job for a bookkeeping client, you might have different folder templates for them than for tax return and so forth.
Yeah, for sure.
You can send contract. So that's also known as a proposal or engagement letter. Again, that's just a terminology thing, but what it allows you to do is you can have, again, a template that allows your client to sign a contract right in the system. So right away, you can have your terms of engagement or your fee schedule and so forth. Whatever terms you want to outline, you always want that on paper, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're never really going to, the odds of you actually getting into a legal battle with a client are very little. But these are kind of the things you want to do as a proper business of having checked off. So instead of using a different system.
Know what? And engagement contracts are really important. Anybody can sue you no matter what your engagement contract is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anybody can take you to court. Its first line of defense really is all, or a deterrent. That's really all it is. But more importantly, I had a client that when I did the survey when we go to re-engage every year, and she said that I give them a list of questions, and one of them is, do you feel your books were done in a timely manner? And she said no, she did not feel her books were done in a timely manner. And so the brunt of that story is I had an engagement contract that said the 15th of the month. I had done them by the 10th of the month, 10 months of the year, and I did them by the 15th twice. And so I took her back to the engagement contract and I said, it says the 15th of the month. And she said, oh, so you were actually early. And I'm like, yeah. And that's where an engagement contract is awesome, right? And she just was like, oh, right. If I hadn't had an engagement contract, I'd have to go back and show her that every single month. But, okay, so I skipped whatever. You know what I'm saying.
No, totally agree with you. And I just mean the sense of here you can have it within the same system as you have everything else. And again, automated. So if you think about doing this from hand, right? Let's just say you don't have a system, or let's say you're using a system just that manages your tasks. You would have to go into some system, create a bill, send it manually. You would have to go and create folder templates, or get someone to set up maybe some Zapiers to do it, and which costs money, but you have to be pretty savvy to kind of set those up on a really good basis. So I think it's a super powerful tool, but it's it definitely takes some setting up. You'd have to get a different system to send contracts. You might, an organizer, we haven't talked about that a little bit, but organizers are huge. And I think they're huge. And I'm sure, Kelly, you definitely use a lot of organizers in your line of work of getting information from clients. But the difference that we like to highlight of the TaxDome organizer is your clients actually complete it, right? So there's a big difference, I think, between just having an organizer and having one that people complete, and they actually, you actually get information from them, right? So many, and especially tax accountants, they send a PDF to their clients that they want them to complete, and it's miserable, right? I mean, it's quite frankly, it's miserable to do, and we're really focused on the user experience of the client. So a few things of why TaxDome's organizer is different and better. Number one, I'm going to
stop you right there, though.
Yeah, please.
Because we're talking about terms. Okay. Organizers are a term that are used by tax professionals to denote the things they need to do their personal taxes or their corporate taxes. Your organizers are more than that, though. Your organizers are also forms. You can do a year-end survey. How did we do last year? Just like I said, I do. You can use them to gather information that may not be related to an actual tax organizer. Because bookkeepers, I know it says TaxDome, but this is great for bookkeepers as well. Those forms can collect, so they're forms as well. They are not just tax organizers. So it kind of takes away that need for, say, creating in Google Forms or type forms or those kinds of things. And again, that information is right here in the system.
Exactly, exactly. And I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it in terms of, again, the terminology aspect, right? We say organizer. We know what that means because we deal with it all day, and it's the same exact, I think, issue that every firm has, that they're used to what every firm, in the same way accountants, right? Their terminology, their clients might not be on the same way, so you have to kind of find a common language. So organizer,
Yeah,
I think you're definitely right in terms of forms.
But back to what you were saying, there's so much more than like organizers. For a lot of people who have come screaming into, I don't know, 2000, let's say, organizers are fillable PDFs, and fillable PDFs make my face melt off. To be able to fill out a form is so much more of a client experience than filling out an organizer.
Definitely, 100%. So the few things I would say that make the TaxDome organizer form, whatever, better than others, and why. So what we do a lot of data on this, obviously, right? And we can see the adoption rate of how many you send out organizers, how many clients complete it. And adoption rate for firms generally goes up tremendously once they use the TaxDome one, for several reasons. First and foremost, it's mobile friendly, right? Your client does not want to sit there and print out your PDF, mail it to you, right? They don't want to do that. They want to be able to do it.
They might want to do that, but we don't want them to do that either.
Well, yeah, well, fair enough as well.
The older clients definitely want to do that, but we don't want them to do that.
True. I mean, everything is a push-pull of what the firm wants versus what the client wants. So we always want to make it kind of user-friendly. So the first thing is that it auto-saves. So your client can pick up, and I don't know if you can see this right from, they can pick up their phone and they can complete it while watching TV. I mean, they can do it on their computer, of course, obviously, right? But it's auto-saves, it's mobile-friendly, and it's fully integrated. So you might have a question in there of, let's say you're starting out for bookkeeping, right? You need certain information for a client to do that. You might need their statements, their balance sheets, their articles of incorporation, whatever other documents you might need. You can prompt them to do that right in the organizer, and then they can upload it within the same organizer. Yeah. So just to give you an example, if you were using Google Forms, right, you would have to go and save that document manually, go to your Dropbox, put it in there, and do all that work of essentially reconciling these documents. And you have better things to do than do that, right? This is automatically organized within the same system. If your client is using their phone again, there's a mobile app that's fully mobile friendly. They can use a built-in scanner. So what does that mean? And you might have this, people sending you pictures of their files, right? Pictures of their documents. And it's miserable, right? The average person takes terrible iPhone photos, even though they have a good phone. It's very difficult to look at these files. Yeah. Oh, you exactly. So
no, I mean, me. I take terrible. Yeah, no. I'm going me. I take terrible pictures, and I have a brand new iPhone.
So but especially when you need, a document, right? I mean, it's one thing when you're sharing, selfies with your friends. It's another when you need, a balance sheet or something important from your clients where every number matters, right? It needs to be legible. So we have a mobile scanner that built in that they can actually take a multi-page PDF. They can crop it, they can rotate it, they can add contrast. At the end of the day, you get an actual legible file that they produced, again, right from their phone, that's integrated with the rest of your documents. So, I mean, we kind of went on a tangent about the organizers, but the really simple kind of way to break it down is it's a way to get information from your clients that they actually don't mind completing, that also integrates with the rest of your system, that can be sent automatically. So your bookkeeping organizer might be different from your corporate organizer, from your other organizer. So, so as you notice here, it's going to send the business tax organizer in the corporate return pipeline, which again is fully customizable. Right. So as we go down the line, it's also going to send a message, which we'll talk about in a minute, and it'll also create a task internally for your team to do something. So let me show you what this, as soon as I do here. Now, this is, again, what is a job versus a task? This is a job of corporate return, and I can name this whatever I want. Let's say December 2020, right? This is the name of the job. I can see what stage it's in, but all of those things, these elements that we were talking about, are now automatically linked to this job, right? So think about that. If you have a client that you do a lot of work for, a year or two in, you're going to have tons of documents, tons of work, tons of, papers for this client, tons of bills. How do you keep it all organized? So whenever you or someone else on your team opens this job, they're going to see everything that was automatically related to this job in one place. So again, this is also another, and you can add notes and notify members of your team. This is another way how a job is different than a task, right? So a task is just one little item as part of a job. And you can also link time entries, right? So if you're tracking time, you can link the time entry right to here, so you can see how much time you spent on a specific job, and you can link, specific documents to it and so forth. So as we add more and more automations, anything that's fired off automatically gets linked automatically. So if we back this up, sorry.
Now, one of the things that, and this is a new release, is for one part of it, if they just want to upload a document, they don't have to sign in. So is that if you request a document? How does the not signing in part work?
Sure. So what Kelly's asking about here is, how do you get the documents from your clients, right? I think that's the first thing. So it's really important for your clients to be able to, the exchange of information. So the first thing that they can do is they can log in, right? So they can log in through their phone, through their portal. And I'm going to switch my screen here and I'll show you what it looks like on here. Give me 1 second. Switching over to here. Okay. Share my Firefox. Let me know when you see your screen.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so this is what your client sees when they log in. A really easy to do of exactly what you need. So the message, which again, we'll talk about in a little bit, which can also have a little checklist for your clients of things that they need to complete. But it's what it is they can really see an easy to see to-do list of the things they need to complete. And it takes them right to it, right? So whether they need to complete the organizer, pay the bill, some documents that they need to sign, it takes them right to it.
So if you request them to do something, it takes them to so if they need to sign something, it goes out for signature, then it takes them through to that document that they need to sign.
Exactly. So right here, I don't know if you can see my screen, I just picked one that says document pending signature. They click it and boom, they can go through the signing process and place the signature. So again, you can collect signatures in here.
Here's my question though. If you've requested for them to sign that, right? Does it go straight through to that document on the request?
Yeah.
So they don't have to do what you just did.
What I just did. So I went from the to do and I just clicked on your document needs to sign and they're here. They can sign right now. Okay. So this, because you might need someone to sign here and on page 10 and on page 11 and on page so forth. So that's why this next, it shows you the fields to fill so that, it walks them through the fields that they need to sign. But you had a specific question. I actually shared the wrong screen. I apologize. You had a specific question of how you can get documents from a client who doesn't log in. So I'll show you that right now. You can do a request. And what this is you can send a secure link to a client, or send them you can copy the URL and send it in any way you want. But what it does is you can add a specific custom message and they can drag and drop files right from here. And again, this does not require actual signing in. So if you have somebody that just wants to, they don't want to deal with another password and so forth, they can share files with you through this request files feature. And when they upload the file, right, you're going to get a notification. Where is my other Google Chrome?
You got a lot of things open, Ilya.
Got a lot of things open here. So when they upload the document, excuse me, they're going to go, I'll show you, you're going to get a notification right in your inbox. Where is this? Right in your inbox. So this is your notification center. So,
that's the other, when we were talking about words, what you're calling naming conventions. This is one that I tell everybody. It's not an email inbox.
It's inbox plus.
Well, you could call it inbox plus, but I like to call that the action center.
Right.
This is where you can see what needs to be done as well. This isn't just replying to emails.
Correct. It's very much a user specific notification. So what does that mean? If you have 5 people on your team and everyone's dealing with different clients, everyone's getting different emails, everyone's going to see the activity that they need to see. And it's fully customizable what you see here. So what does that mean? Some people might want you can see notification preferences. You can see what notifications you want to receive where. Some people prefer to receive notifications in email. Some people don't want a single notification in email and they want it just in their inbox plus. So you have full control over what notifications you receive and where. So one of the notifications is documents. So when a client uploads a document, you can be notified in your inbox plus. You can receive an email or both.
So I like to call that the action center.
I'm actually with you. I think one of the ways we wanted to, so the reason it's called Inbox Plus, because it also pulls in the relevant emails. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
So, and let's talk about that actually for a second. Of what does email mean? So you sync your existing email into TaxDome. You don't have to make a new one. There's no specific, you continue to use Kellie at Calmwaters and you can pull that in here. So whether you're using Outlook, Gmail, AOL, Hotmail, whatever it is you want, you continue to use that, okay? Now, how is this really beneficial? If you have two people on a team, let's say you have a staff member, you could both of you sync in here, you could always see what your staff member is communicating with the client. So how many times when you're on a team, you're CC'd on emails, right? You're CC'd on an email as an FYI. And why are you CC'd? Just so you don't actually have to do anything. It's just they want to keep you in the loop. And your inbox becomes cluttered with tons of emails that you really don't need to do anything, and it slows down your work, right? I mean, especially if you're really focused on efficiency and you want your inbox to actually be actionable items for you. So what this allows you to do is, if I open up a client, my email, here, I'll show you what I mean by that. The email section of this client will automatically populate all of the emails between everyone on this client's account and everyone on your team automatically. So I can see all the emails even if I'm not on it. So if I'm a manager and I need to just see what's going on and see all the communication, I can log in and I can see the emails between my team right within here. And I don't have to have my inbox cluttered. So Inbox Plus has tons of different things that you can have, and you can filter for them, whether it's, you want to I just want to see, who signed documents, who signed contracts, who signed up, who sent a message. So you can really filter by notifications, by client. And maybe you came back from vacation, you can literally select all of them and archive them, just done, right? Nobody likes to do work on vacation. So it's easy to clear it as well, where it doesn't become just something that you have to, work through. So one other item that's cool from here that a lot of people, they like to create a task from a job. So create a task from an email. So new mail, I can create a task right from there. So this is something that I know a lot of people like, is that when an email comes in, you want to be able to just get it out of the way and clear it out of your inbox, so to speak, but create a task to follow up on that. So you can do that right from here as well.
Where does that task go then? Where do I see it?
So if I go back to the workflow, remember we mentioned the pipelines. Yep. So you can have all the different pipelines that you have, and they're unlimited and fully customizable. The jobs. So what's the jobs tab? The jobs tab shows me all of the jobs across all of the different pipelines, and I can filter through them to find exactly what I need. So whereas the pipeline view is one specific service, so one specific what was the term you used for it? Process?
Phases.
So
phases of the milestones.
Phases of the milestone, right? So you can see, for instance, if I go, my 1040 return, I can just see the jobs in this pipeline. But if I go to the jobs, it's a table view of all the jobs across all services. And then if I go to tasks, I can see my, what's to do for me, my tasks, and I can also see all the tasks across the firm, again, that I have access to, right? So you can have different users with different rights. So I'm logged in as an admin, so I can see everything, whereas another user might be logged in with just access to a couple clients. So here, that's where the tasks would go, and I can see the task list and each user. So if you have, an admin that comes in, they would just come here and they can see all the tasks that they need to complete specifically. So if I go into a task, I can see you can have subtasks. And again, this is all templatable. You can have subtasks in here. You can attach documents to it, multiple assignees, if you have 3 people working on something or 1. So there's kind of a lot of flexibility here with the actual workflow aspect. But again, a task is just one part of, can be standalone, but a task is better when it's automatically generated as part of a job. Because again, you might have different, as part of a bigger job, you might have many different tasks that need to get completed.
Right. So it goes job, pipelines, tasks. Or you can have standalone tasks.
You can have standalone tasks, but I would say
but in the larger sense, when you're creating work, It would go job.
Work is a job. Well, yeah, work is just a job. Work is a job. Pipeline is simply the process, and the job goes. So the pipeline is the conveyor belt that the job goes through.
Yeah, milestones. Yep.
Milestone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And now there's a couple really cool things that are coming to this that a lot of people ask about. So I think it's just better to kind of talk about them right away. So the first thing that people talk about is, how do I make this recur? So let's say you're doing bookkeeping. Every third Monday every month, you want a new job to get created. So that's actually what's in the works right now and what's coming. So depending on when you're watching this video, today is December 9th, in late December or early Q1 2021, you're going to be able to have a schedule. So for instance, if I go to, let's find Kellie's bookkeeping. So this bookkeeping full cycle, you'll be able to have jobs generated in here for, specific clients that you want on a monthly schedule, for instance, every month. So what does that mean? As soon as the job starts, you might have an email go to the client saying, hey, another month, need so-and-so. You can have a message go to a client, and let's talk about this for a second. This is a message go to a client that says, I need so-and-so information from you, right? So instead of sending them a long organizer, which is, you might need an onboarding, but every month you just need, their statements, and I don't know, you tell me, what else do you need every month besides statements and to process their books?
Yeah, okay. So this is interesting because I was a little lost, and I think you just described it. So you would use an organizer to gather various types of information and more things, right? That's you're organizing a lot of things, you're asking a lot of questions, whatever. And so this is what I was wondering about. Messages are, so it comes in like an iMessage system, right? So I like that. So how does it, well, and I'll get to that in a minute, but you can have them upload documents. And again, they don't need to log in if that's what you're asking them to do.
Well, this message is behind
tasks.
So this message is behind is secure. So this is a secure message. So this is behind a portal.
Right.
So they would log into this, and we'll talk about the log.
But the document part, let's say we ask them to attach documents. Where does that come from? Like that they don't have to log in? Is that coming from an organizer, or is that how are you requesting documents like that?
Got it. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So this is a message. So anything you see here is a secure message between you and your client. Now, if you I'll show you the requesting.
Well, don't leave there yet. Don't leave there yet, because I want to ask about messages.
Okay, so let's talk about this first. So what is a message? And kind of, so again, this is a secure message that you can send to your clients. And again, it can be sent automatically, as an example, every month for bookkeeping. They receive a new message that says, new month, need so-and-so, and this can all be templated. Now, why is this really beneficial? Number one is it's, again, mobile friendly. So your client on their phone can receive this little, can chat with you right on their phone. That's one. Number two is, you see this little thing, reminders. I know you love the auto nag.
I love auto nag.
You can auto nag your clients, and you can auto nag them as to how you want, right? So some people like to nag a lot. Some people like to, step back a little bit. So you can control how often you want to nag and how many times you want to nag. So think about it. How often do you send a text message and somebody reads it and say, oh, I'll respond later because they're in the middle of something? That's what this takes care of for you. So if you have 1,000 clients and 200 don't respond right away, that's 200 people you would have to be following up on. That's a massive amount of time, whereas this does it automatically for you. That's number one. Number two is, you see this little green thing. If you use WhatsApp, you're probably familiar with it. It's a read receipt. So we didn't come up with it, but it's a great thing because you can see when your clients have read it, right? We all like to know. I'm pretty anal about it. I like to know when people read my messages. So this is something you can see here. Read receipts. Next is, again, they can attach documents right to it, right within here. And if they're
actually, I'm going to go off topic for a minute.
Please.
Because I don't always like read receipts on my end. So I have them turned off on my iPhone, but it's really hard to turn them off on social media. I'm going to give everybody a tip here. This is totally outside of TaxDome. If you want to read a message on social media, but don't want somebody to think you're not replying to them, turn off your data or your internet access. You can actually open it up and read it, and then when you open up your access to data again, it doesn't show that you've read it.
Well, I think I'm
not trying to find workarounds for our clients in TaxDome, I'm
Well,
just saying that
that's the
was
thing.
just like a,
We're talking to the firms, right? We're talking to the firms, and if I'm sending a message to my client, the client might not want
yeah,
me to see the message, but I, as the firm, always want to know
yes,
the message, right?
definitely want to know. Yeah.
So that's how I think about it. And I have my actually, so yeah, so you can have read receipts here, see what they're, and that's actually another tangent. We have an audit log for every file. So not only do you see read receipts, but you can see when your client viewed the file, right? Whether they downloaded it. So when you have that client say, "Oh, I never saw that," you saw it, and you can
Yeah,
show
I
them the
know.
log of what they did.
That's a win, right? So for sure.
It's,
So a message would be kind of the is is that more related to a job? Is that more related to monthly bookkeeping, or is that when that's really purposeful? Whereas the full blown organizers are more in the organizing process when you're trying to get a lot of information all at once.
they're two different tools, right? So they both
Yeah.
allow you to get information from clients. Now,
Right.
a message is beneficial because it has context, right? So you can start, a lot of times you send a message to a client saying, "Hey, we looked at so and so, we need to verify this." So you would use that that's a great use case for a message. Another great
Yeah.
use
Okay.
case for a message is, like you mentioned, every month of bookkeeping, you need bank statements and maybe something else every month, where it's not, you don't need them to complete a long form, right? So an organizer would be more onboarding or intake form, right? You need so much
Got ya.
information from a new
Okay.
client. Whereas a message allows you to get a quick snippet of information
Gotcha.
and allows you, again, we mentioned the reminders, we mentioned the read receipts. They can attach documents right within it. They can do the same thing within an organizer as well. But as opposed to a text message, if you send it to them where you have to go and manually organize it, they can attach documents right here. And you can give them a task list. So
Okay.
this
So
task list, yeah,
so does it live within a job or does it live within the client? The whole messages thing.
so if this message was created automatically through a job, it would automatically be linked. It would live inside that job. But if I can always see all of the active messages for a client across
Okay.
all jobs. So this is all the messages across all jobs, and I can see
Right.
all the tasks across all jobs as well for this client.
Okay. Does it break out so let's say you have a message thread going and then they complete their tasks. I saw that you can archive it, so that's great.
Yep.
But does it separate the messages into different, like, so there's this message thread and then it's over. And then here's this message thread.
That's exactly what this is. So
Yeah. Okay.
let's say, so every month, if you had a monthly bookkeeping and it would generate a new message, it would,
Okay.
this is this month, this is next month, this is
Oh,
next
okay,
month, this is
good.
next month, and so
So it's
forth.
not one continuous thread like an
No,
iMessage. Okay,
no,
good.
that's exactly. So that's the other benefit, right? I mean, when
Yeah.
you're sending a text message to a client, you get context gets lost, and that's why
Yes.
having, by the time you send the fifth message, you can't see the top. So
Right. Okay,
having a
cool.
one long thread is really bad. So that's why you have this. And again, they can be deleted, they can be archived, and I'll show you what it looks like on the client side. Which again, remember that to do we were talking about.
Yeah.
They can see right in here to do. They can see exactly what you need them to do. It's easy for them to use. They would also get an email. If they have a mobile app, they would get a push notification. But this way, you can stay on top of your clients. And so this is a great way, kind of a great segue as to why, if I go back to the workflow aspect of it, of how this all plays together, right? So one of the complaints about about accountants in general is that they are not, there's so many things that go beyond the scenes, right? And oftentimes your clients are in the dark. So for you to get from A to D, from A to Z, excuse me, at the end, there's so many things that can happen depending on the complexity of your process and how big the project is and so forth. Whereas because you can have different automations at each stage, you can have different emails sent. So as soon as you start work on the return, you might send to the client, "Hey, we've already started work on your return. You can expect it in 10 days." Right?
Cool. Right.
So you can be communicative to your clients so they're transparent about your process as you go down the line. So what does that do for you as the business that allows you to stop receiving those, "Hey, where are we?" phone calls, and all that time that's spent on keeping client abreast of what's going on. This is done for you automatically. And again, your emails are contingent upon the process you set up. So your emails in the corporate return would be different than the emails in your bookkeeping and tax return and so forth process.
When you move something through, so go ahead and move something automatically for me, and then I want to see my question. So see these automations will be triggered. Which is what happens to the previous tasks? Let's say they weren't done.
Great question. So you see this one right here? This one is maybe I'll zoom in here so it's a little bigger. See this little green check mark? So that means everything that was needed to be done for this job in this stage is complete. So that's the
Right.
green, nice little check mark. This one means that there's one outstanding item that was not done. So if so that's another thing that's coming. We mentioned the schedules that are coming. Auto move is coming. So as soon as you finish everything here, this job, if you have auto move set up, it'll automatically move over, and this will be created automatically for you without you lifting a finger. So,
Right.
and I know in your terminology and a lot of other systems, that's called dependency, right?
Yeah.
So this email and this task is dependent on the items in the prior stage being done. So that would be the TaxDome equivalent of dependency. When with auto move, which we expect by the end of the year, you'll be able to do that. So to your question, let's say you move something over manually and something was outstanding. How does that work?
Right.
So if I move this manually, you see this right here, it's going to send you the automations that'll be triggered. Again, you can turn them off. Maybe for this client, you don't want to send something. You get to control that. But you can also see the unfinished items, and you can decide, maybe I still need to do this task, or I can delete it, or maybe I actually maybe it's done. I just forgot to actually press the button of done in the task.
I got it.
So you're always abreast of what's still outstanding. And with auto move, what's coming to this is, just to give an example. So remember we mentioned this job where it's got all these, it's got a contract, it's got an organizer, it's got a task associated with it. There's so many different things happening. Now picture this. What if you set up auto move that I want, as soon as the client pays the bill and as soon as they sign the contract, then the job moves over. So I'm not starting work until I'm paid, until the contract is signed. There's no point. And then as soon as they do that, that'll create an email to the client, that'll create a task internally, and do something else and something else that you want. So this way you can automate your onboarding, which we talk about a little bit. So all of those, checking in on clients and so forth, you can set the terms that you want for your business for each process. And with the auto move, you can really kind of, take yourself out of the manual process of checking in on things and have it done on the back end.
Okay. Cool. So can we go into Charles Burns corporate, the one you just had? Can we open that?
Yep.
Can we look at the tasks?
Sure. So this is the task that was created automatically again when we started this job.
And then does that task have subtasks then? Do you know? Where do we see the subtasks?
Yep.
Okay.
So right here. So you can see this task. Yep.
Yep. That's one of the questions I get asked is, how do we then go to see those? But we'll see that it's got subtasks, right?
Yep. And again, this is all fully templatable. So your tasks that get created.
I know, because I built some of them.
Exactly. So so that's kind of the difference. And I hope that kind of clarifies things in terms of the difference between job, which is kind of the project, a task, which is one of the many elements of a job, right? So a bill could be an element of a job, a contract. Whereas whenever I open this, I can see all of the, I'm always in context of all the things that are happening within this job. And then the pipeline is the process that the job goes through to get, to reach all the milestones that are needed to completion.
Yeah. And so some of these things like bills, contracts, organizers, sometimes those could also be called actions. Just for some people that are still trying to get a handle on the language, those would be called actions, and your tasks are actually the tasks that you get done.
So if I go look at, so just to show you from a visual perspective, so you can always see, if I go to the edit of the pipeline, I can create as many stages as I want. Maybe I want another stage, maybe I want another stage. So different, phases or milestones, fully customizable. And within each phase, I can have as many automations as I want. And I can also indicate the reminders automatically for each one. So in this case, this person is going to get an invoice created, and they're going to get reminded in 3 days to pay it if they don't do it. But if they pay it, they'll stop reminding it, and so forth and so forth. So again, this is fully customizable for each process, for each firm, depending on how granular you want to get, or depending on how not granular you want to get.
Okay.
One other thing, unless you had a question here, there's a couple others we took. So one other thing that we wanted to talk about that you mentioned that is, you're often asked about, is the difference between an account and a contact. What does that mean?
I was just going to ask. Yeah.
So an account. So right here, I opened up the info tab of the Charles Burns account. So the account is what you do business with, right? So the account could be a business, it could be an individual, it could be a family, any number of those things. Those are all the entity that you interact with, right? So the jobs are for the account, the invoices are for the account. And within an account, you might have many different individuals that are your contacts that you need to keep tabs on. So in this account of Charles Burns, there are 3 contacts linked to them, okay? And for each contact, this is kind of where the granularity comes in. You can indicate who has portal access, so that's what login means, who will receive notifications, and which emails you want to sync in here. So remember we talked about the emails of how you would pull in your, Kelly at Calmwaters email, and if you have staff, they would pull in their emails. So if this person, owner at Springfield Nuclear Power Plant, emails anyone on your team, that email, because email sync is on, it's going to show up in the email of this account. So if you think about it, how often do you, search your email for statements or a certain person's name? There's so much time spent on that. Whereas here, when the second I open up their email, I can see all of the emails specific for this account. So it's as if you went to your Outlook and created folders for each person and sat there organizing it manually. This is done for you. And it'll look back. So if you sign up with TaxDome tomorrow, it'll look back and pull in all your emails. You don't have to put these emails in here. It'll do it automatically. Okay. Does that make sense on the email side? Okay.
Yeah. Totally makes sense.
So that's the difference between, and each contact. So if I click on the contact, then I can see, all of their CRM data, right? And again, this is all importable from different systems. So whatever system you're using, you can export it, or you can import this into your system. So you can, all your CRM data, you can have custom fields. I know you love custom fields. So you can have custom fields for the contact, whatever you need. And you can see all the emails that that this person has, and you can see the linked accounts. So Charles is a very busy client, and he is, he's linked to 4 different accounts. So where does this come? So where does this come into play, right? So imagine you have somebody that you're doing their personal tax return and you're doing the bookkeeping for their business. I hate remembering logins, right? I personally do. And if I hate it and I'm fairly tech savvy, your clients probably hate it even more so. So what this means is that Charles can log in once and he can toggle between all of these different accounts that he's on.
Oh, okay.
So he can toggle between his personal and his business and so forth and so forth. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. So if I switch over, where is this? Firefox. Okay. So when they log in, they can switch between the accounts that they have access to right here. So these are the accounts that he has portal access to, and he can switch in and he can see all the unread notifications for each of those accounts. So perfect use case is somebody that has a spouse. The spouse might want to be on the family account, but the spouse doesn't need, to receive notifications and see all the to-dos for, the monthly bookkeeping of the business and so forth. So they log in once and they toggle between them. So it's super convenient for them. So let me come back to here. And again, and there's also custom fields for the account. So where was the Charles Burns? We have a little search here. So we have also custom fields on the account level as well. So these are all the custom fields. So you have, business information and fiscal year. This is all customizable to whatever you need as well. And if you notice here, it's sync your we won't kind of get into it here, but you can do a QuickBooks Sync and see all your QuickBooks information here. So that's the difference between an account and a contact. And if I go here, then I can see all my list of accounts, which is kind of, again, remember the entities that you're dealing with, and you can do bulk actions. So what does that mean? So maybe I want to filter for all my, bookkeeping clients, for example, and I want to send them all an email. So I can send a targeted email just to my bookkeeping clients. So these people all have bookkeeping as another tag here. Maybe I want to find, if I clear this filter, maybe I want to find people that have a pending contract that didn't sign it, right? Maybe you're getting towards when you need to start work. So using the filter, you can do super, really drill down into exactly what you need. And then you can send targeted bulk items, right? Maybe you want to apply a tag to all these people. Maybe you want to send them a message or a contract or a task. So this is super powerful in terms of being able to do bulk actions across systems. You can do the same thing with tasks, right? So maybe you have 50 tasks and an employee quits. It sucks, but it happens, right? Life happens. You can reassign those tasks to somebody else really quickly. Somebody is out off sick and so forth. So you can do the same thing with tasks and other items in the system of bulk actions.
Oh, okay, cool. Now, So one of the things that we talked about that we were going to talk about, because we talked about the things we're going to talk about. So we talked about what the difference is between messages and emails and organizers.
Mhm.
Organizers being forms, messages being mini communications, mini actions, emails being, you know, what they are. Now we know that jobs is the work that you need to get done. Pipelines are the milestones of it, and then within pipelines are going to be the tasks and the action items.
Well, within the pipeline, so within each pipeline,
Yep.
you have the jobs. So the job goes through the pipeline,
Yep.
and at different phases of
Yep.
the pipeline, you would have the different actions get generated and the dependency that you talked about. So,
Right.
you know, if you have, you don't do X, you don't do what you need in step C until step A is done.
Right. And so then one of the things I think originally this little series that we talked about me doing the the thing on was how would I start to organize all of this? What would I do first? It's hard to know what to do first, but some of the things that I would definitely do is get those task lists in there in your templates, right? So do your task lists, because that's where you're thinking about like the tasks that need to be done. Then I would grab some of those. Yeah. So let's go into settings. Yeah. And then I would probably template some of the emails so that I'm not packing things out. Right.
And just a quick interjection here is we have a library of this items, so you can always create your own. And for everything that has a template, you're depending on, again, when you see this, there's going to be more and more templates that we add to our library that you could just pull in, and then you could modify them as much as you want, right? So Kelly has a bunch of templates that you can see in here, and she has customized before onboarding, because every firm has different levels of communication, but at least it gives you a good start of where to go. And the same thing, there's task templates, email templates, organizer templates. So we're going to have more and more. So if you, this little copy from library button pulls it into your account without you having to do anything. But again, you can create your own, you can customize the existing ones. Once you make one, you can duplicate it if you want to make slight variations for different services. So we make it easy to template everything and then, you know, build out the system. But I think the hardest part is deciding how you want it to work, right? So it's less the can this work, but what is my actual process, and putting your mind to paper, so to speak. And I think that's probably where, you know, what you're good at, and how, you know, maybe you have tips on how other people can put that to paper.
Yeah. And so but tasks, I mean, yeah, either video yourself and then start to peck out the tasks, build the tasks in TaxDome or build them in an Excel file first, and then copy and paste them in, whatever you need to do. But I think the order of events basically looks exactly like you've got there. It's tasks, emails, organizers, folders, message. Get those templates in, then go on to build out your pipelines. So don't do the pipelines until you've made your way through this system, right? So build out all of your templates. And I like the order that you have the templates in how I would build them. It just makes sense to build them that way. So build out your templates and then go to your pipelines. And then in your pipelines, that's where you put in the other templates that you've already built.
So what Kelly means by that is, so let's say you can create as many stages as you want. So let's say you create a pipeline. And again, we also have, just to clarify that, we also have a library. So if you start from scratch, you can copy from the library. You can copy in all of Kelly's that she's made and other ones that we have in here. Click this little button, it'll pull into your system Kelly's template, her pipeline, with all the templates that she already put in right into here. But
test the heck out of them.
Yeah, test the heck out of them, and then you can modify them to your needs, right? So, you know, however, you know, you can make it as either take hers or modify, make your own. We've got a bunch of other ones, but that allows you to do that. So if we come back to the pipeline, you can, let's say you've made one, so forth. For each one, you can click add automation, and then add all the different automations that you want to happen at each phase.
And when you say automation, again, I'm back to the fact that what you are doing is you are adding actions and task lists to there. It's not just about the automation. Like tasks aren't an automation necessarily. They are the stuff you've got to get done. So That's what I mean by that. And then, so I think we've covered off a lot of the stuff that we wanted to talk about, except for that one last thing that I just don't know about. You have that thing, the I call it lead capture. You call it, what do you call it?
Onboarding, automate onboarding.
Right. And I called it a lead capture, and I didn't, and they turned out to be the same idea.
So let's say someone goes to, first off, we have a website builder. This is kind of a good segue into that. We don't talk about this much in there, but we have a full website builder that you can utilize. We have hundreds of templates and you can use them, and we actually build it for you if you want. You just give us your content, right? Give us your picture, give us your whatever pages you want. We'll actually build it for you, including the hosting. All you would, the only thing, you notice everything is branded to you. So if you have a website, calmwatersaccounting.com, you can have it hosted on here. So let's say you have your login page, right, where all your clients log in. They can download the mobile app, fully customizable to you. But you also have this sign up button, and you can just, for your lead capture, you can just send people to this direct link, right? So if you want to get prospects, you can send them here. Now, what this is, and actually you can also integrate a chat bot if you like. We have a chat bot set up on the site. You can integrate a chat bot and your calendars all into our website. So lead capture, how does this work? You can send your clients here, all branded to you, and you can ask a custom question that, depending on their answers, will trigger a job to get created. So what does that mean, right? Remember all those times you spend an onboarding call with a client. Hey, I heard somebody calls you, Kelly, I heard you're great at bookkeeping. I'd like to chat. So you set up a call with a client, they book a time in your calendar, takes time, and all you're really doing is you're going to be asking them intro questions, right? What are you interested in? Okay, you have a business, great. Let me mark this down. And then afterwards, you're going to create an email, you're going to send, certain information to them and so forth. What if you could just have that happen automatically, right? Why do you have to spend 30 minutes talking to a client when this can be done automatically? So you send your client here, they put in, name and so forth. And this is all customizable depending on their answer. So maybe someone's interested in payroll and corporate return, or maybe someone's interested in, they want a Canadian T1 and they just prospect. They just tell me about your business. How do you work? And when they answer this can initiate a job to happen. Remember, we talked about the job and all the automations that it has. So if somebody says Canadian T1, you can have your Canadian organizer get sent to them. Your Canadian, T1 engagement, your contract or engagement letter gets sent to them. You might have your welcome email saying, hi, Canadian T1, these are your deadlines to keep in mind and so forth, right? Again, fully customizable. And if they say just browsing, you might want to send them, a prospect email or a drip campaign that sends that sends them an email of just your services and what you might do for them and so forth. So, or if you still want to send them, a link to scheduler, you could still send them a different, you might have different calendar links for different services, right? Maybe maybe a Canadian T1 is a less value client than a corporate return. So you might want to have more availabilities on your calendar for this and that. I mean, that's more nitty gritty, but I think the real benefit of this is the ability to automate your onboarding process. This is fully customizable, which will trigger all these different automations depending on what the client answers.
Right. Cool. Because that I didn't know about, and I would not be able to describe that nearly as well to people when I'm starting to set up their TaxDome.
So we've got, and let me put this here, blog.taxdome.com. We have a article that really kind of walks through this. So for those that are interested, how to automate client onboarding, we give you kind of examples of how this works, all the different things you can do. And this is a good time to kind of talk about our onboarding. So when you sign up with TaxDome, the first thing we recommend is to join our demo. So we have a live demo every day. If you just go to our website, we have a live demo, you can join, and there's live Q&A. So all the things that I'm sure whoever's watching this probably has a million questions that they'd love to ask, like, what about this? What about that? That's what the live demo is for. You get to ask everything you want. I think there was 87 questions on the demo yesterday, right? So people ask, you get to really ask what you want directly from our product team. The next thing is, once you say, okay, this is great, we'd love to check it out, we have a trial. And as soon as you sign up for the trial, you're going to start getting emails from our team so that we can onboard you, right? So onboarding is free, it's included. There's absolutely no fees. Just as a fundamental business decision, we believe that training should always be free. Anyone that wants help should be able to get it at any point, and we're incentivized as a business to give it to you. So charging someone for implementation and bringing that on, we're not here to nickel and dime you. We want you to have a good experience, and we believe then you'll stay with TaxDome for a long time, making it a fruitful business relationship. So it's always free. You get as many onboardings as you need, but we find them super helpful to kind of walk you through, because Kellie, like said, she knows these systems really well, but TaxDome is a little different than other systems, right? So even if you just need walking through the terminology, walking through how to set this up and how to put your mind to paper, we walk you through that. And again, that's all free and included as soon as you sign up with TaxDome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, is your puppy? So Ilya's got a new puppy.
I do. So I'm looking over. He's. Oh no, he's chewing some cord. All right.
Oh dear.
I think we gotta. The cord is being chewed. I don't know if you can see it through here, but the cord is being chewed.
Yep. So maybe that's the end of our session. Then you got to go attend to the 9. Did you say 8 weeks old? 9 weeks old?
9 weeks today. 9 weeks today.
Cool. Yeah.
So.
Okay, great. I appreciate you doing this run through for me again, but also because I've got a few firms that I'm setting up in TaxDome right now. I don't want them to have to pay me to go through this kind of stuff. They can review this, and then their questions are more precise for me. So
definitely. And if somebody has questions, let's say you watch this video, right? And I think we'll do an update maybe months down the line when there's new stuff and so forth. But if anybody has questions when you watch this, just contact our team, right? success@taxdome.com. Contact our team. Join the live demo. We're happy to answer any questions you have. Happy to break it down for you, because inevitably most people that come to us, they're using something, right? Well, even if you're using Excel, you still have a system, right? You still have columns in the Excel or tabs or something. You've got something, right? The reason you're in business is because you're already doing something. So come to us. We're happy to answer any questions. Happy to get you onboarded, and happy to bridge the gap of any terminology that's there to really help you see the power of TaxDome and all the things you can set up here.
Yeah, and what I'd really rather do for people is get it personalized for their individual needs and get them moving in it, and maybe work with their team members, hand holding a little bit in that department to get them rolling. Okay,
Kellie,
cool.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.